Mr. President, in 1986, Coretta Scott King, the widow of civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King, wrote a letter urging Congress to block the nominations of Jeff Sessions for federal judge. The Senate Judiciary Committee would ultimately reject that nomination. Here we are 3 decades later, and Senator Sessions, who cannot erase his troubling record on civil rights, is again undergoing confirmation hearings as President Trump's nominee for Attorney General. I'd like to read an excerpt from Mrs. King's letter and ask unanimous consent that the letter in its entirety be printed in the record following my remarks. Mrs. King wrote, and I quote, "I write to express my sincere opposition to the confirmation of Jefferson B. Sessions as a federal district court judge for the Southern District of Alabama. My professional and personal roots in Alabama are deep and lasting. Anyone who has used the power of his office as United States Attorney to intimidate and chill the free exercise of the ballot by citizens should not be elevated to our courts. Mr. Sessions has used the awesome powers of his office in a shabby attempt to intimidate and frighten elderly black voters. For this reprehensible conduct, he should not be rewarded with a federal judgeship. I do sincerely urge you to oppose the confirmation of Mr. Sessions." End quote. When Senator Elizabeth Warren tried to read this exact same letter last night here on the Senate floor, Republicans voted to silence her, citing that she was in violation of Senate rules aimed at preventing senators from impugning the motives of their colleagues. The move by some of my colleagues to silence the words of Senator Warren and Mrs. King last night is troubling not only because it is a threat to our democratic values, but also, frankly, because it is hypocritical. During a scathing speech last year in this same chamber, the senator from Texas went so far as personally attacking the Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and accusing him of lying. In May of last year, the senator from Arkansas, also here on the Senate floor, delivered a speech directly criticizing former Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid, using the terms vulgar, incoherent, and cancerous to describe him. He said here on the Senate floor, quote, "I am forced to listen to the bitter, vulgar, incoherent ramblings of the minority leader. Normally, like every other American, I ignore them." End quote. I bring this up because neither of these senators were silenced. Neither were told to sit down and take their seat. Silencing Senator Warren for reading Mrs. King's letter under the guise of following Senate rules is hypocritical, and rightfully leads some to question whether the majority leader may have a different standard of expected conduct for female senators compared to their male counterparts. I have already announced that I will vote against the nomination of Senator Sessions. And after this episode last night, I believe now more than ever, this position will require an unwavering commitment to protect Americans' constitutional rights and to stand up against discrimination and hate. Like the thousands of New Mexicans I have heard from, I lack that confidence in Senator Sessions. I urge the American people to read and share Coretta Scott King's letter and continue to make your own voices heard, because we will not be silenced. We will persist.